Drew Barrymore. Another example of just how unprotected children are in Hollyweird today. Now, unfortunately, we already know that child trafficking is one of the biggest businesses in the world right now, and that children are massively targeted not only in the sports and entertainment industries, but in the world at large. The unfortunate thing that we've been talking a lot about on this channel is the fact that it goes outside of just industry experts, professionals, and moguls. It goes down to the parents as well. And now one of you guys in my comment section, so thank you for those of you who do write comments. I do read them and I do make videos based on the things that you guys say. One of you guys mentioned Drew Barrymore a bit of a while ago now. And I had never looked into Drew Barrymore and her history and how she spoke out about what she went through. But when I discovered what she went through, I was shocked. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of a backup. Now, she, from as young as 7, had already started drinking alcohol. Now, the backstory is her family, the Barrymores, were well-known actors. They were also well-known alcoholics. And from a young age, her dad was an alcoholic. He was also abusive. In fact, he was abusive towards the mum even when she was pregnant with her daughter. Now, this is when she wanted to leave the abusive husband, I guess, in protection of her daughter. But the unfortunate thing was that after doing this, the mum, I believe her name is Jade. I'm just looking down at my notes if you guys see me looking down. Unfortunately, it seems that she was also went through a lot, as a result of breaking away from the dad. And she didn't really look after Drew very well either. She used to go out partying when Drew was as young as 9 years old, and she used to take her with her. So Drew Barrymore used to be out partying and clubbing with her mum and being at all these adult parties. Now, when we just think about that, guys, and you just think about being 9 years old, I just think like first of all, again, her mum's obviously got knocked up. She's moved away. Her mum's going through whatever she's going through. And I'm not judging the mum because, going through stuff is hard. And it's hard to be going through extreme levels of trauma and then protecting your children. But unfortunately, when we bring children into the world, we're responsible. It was not Drew Barrymore's fault that she was born, And so, as I've looked into this, it seems that her mum was just kind of a bit of a wreck and Drew was just there. And I saw that Drew's mum had even said in an interview with Oprah, like, she just let Drew do her own thing. And like, this is where the accountability issues come in for me, right? This is where they start coming in for me, because although she's apologized and Drew herself has been extremely mature and apologized and said that she forgives her mum, and she forgave her mum from a very young age. In fact, Drew became emancipated from her mum at 14 years old. She took over her own parental rights for herself. This is after her mum had put her in, first of all, in a rehabilitation facility and then into a mental health facility. After her mum got tired of her behavior, which for me really irritates me, because I'm like, first of all, she got there. She didn't just get there out of nowhere. I think there's this narrative that happens with children. And this is why I talk about this, is where is the accountability for children, where so many children, they're spoken about as negative, but we don't talk about how they got there. Like, because my thing is, okay, let's say she did everything the mum's saying she did, right? Where does she learn this stuff from? If as young as 7 years old, she's saying she was making whiskeys and ice creams. At 10, she was already taking hardcore drugs, and she was already an addict at a young age. How are you blaming the child? This is what I don't understand, right? How are you even saying that she was tired of her behavior or hard to deal with? That is a problem you and your husband created. And this is why I think we've really got to stop just having children out here, guys. It's really not a joke, And the crazy thing about all of this for me is the fact that after all of this, Drew started her own company, Flower Films, right? Her production company, where she, in the end, had produced the films like 50 First Dates, Charlie's Angels, The Wedding Singer, all these incredible movies, right, that Drew did despite everything, after she got her life together, after she was recommended to get an emancipation from her parents, from her mum, right? She was recommended this, I think, by the facility, which is crazy, right? People don't talk about this stuff. That at such a young age, once again, it doesn't seem like the children are the problem, because the children seem like I've said about Britney Spears and I've said about others, they seem to have the strength to be able to do all this stuff, because Drew is still acting and doing all this stuff despite everything. And in fact, she even said that bullying at school was one of the reasons why she liked being around with her family and her family, with her mum at all these Hollywood parties and stuff. But the thing that scares me is the fact that the guests encouraged Drew in what she was doing. These are the Hollywood guests. So I'm just wondering, who are the sick and twisted adults who are around seeing this child out clubbing, encouraging her drinking and doing all of these types of behaviors? What, for their own pleasure? Like, we've got to stop acting like this stuff just happens. You know, so many people like to blame God for the negative things that are in the world. People love to blame God, like, why is this happening? Why doesn't he stop this? People are using their own free will that God gave them to do this stuff. We can't keep blaming everybody else apart from the people, the adults who are alive today, taking accountability. A lot of people like to say, oh, it was, why hasn't God done this? Or why hasn't so-and-so done that? Or social services. What about the parents? What about the fact that the only way children come into this world is because two people have to get together and sleep with each other, and then there is a child, and there is a whole 9-month period where you have the opportunity, let's call it 7 months, in case you didn't realize in the beginning you were pregnant, right? You got at least 7 months, right, to realize that this child is coming. Yeah? And you need to get yourself together. I more respect the parents who gave their children up for adoption because they believed they could not be good parents. You know, but even still, in a world where we always want to defend how we want to live our lives, or we want to be able to have as much sex as we want my body, my choice, your child, your choice. Oh, but we don't want to talk about that now, do we? And it infuriates me, because I'm so glad for the likes of Drew that she has worked out, and it worked, and that she looked after herself, and she's so mature. Like, when I see her talking about this as an adult, she has such a mature approach to this. But I'm like, imagine if she couldn't, because it would be understandable if she couldn't handle all this stuff. Who's going to step in and defend her then? Oh, she'd probably end up in a conservatorship like Amanda Bynes, who, again, even her tried to do what she was supposed to do. Tried to get into fashion school, which one of you guys told me is not even easy to get her associate's degree onto an associate's program for fashion. She did what she needed to do. And yet, and this is a question, I'm going to finish with this. How come when you have a child, when you have a person who has good manners, you say, wow, you must have had a great upbringing? But when it's not, that's not the case. Why are we not looking at the parents? And again, I'm not criticizing parenting, because parenting, we're all imperfect. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We're all going to fail, you know, at parenting in some ways. That's why the grace of God is something I am so grateful for, right? It's about accountability and responsibility. Who is taking accountability? It is no wonder why mental health is such a big issue in this day and age, because nobody is taking, no, I shouldn't say nobody, there's not enough people taking accountability for the children of today. There's not enough people saying, we built this industry that is breaking the lives of, that is breaking children's minds, that is traumatizing them, that is allowing for these things to exist, these deep, disgusting, evil and demonic stuff. And you know why they're not doing that as well? Because a lot of them are enjoying it, guys. That's why. And that's why we talk about Hollyweird, and that's why I get so upset. And so many of these videos I've done recently, I feel like I'm just sounding so angry, because I am angry. I'm truly angry. Who is going to fight for the children? What about the children? In all this discussion we do. And as soon as somebody gets past the age of like 18 nowadays, now we just want to think, oh, now you're an adult. Now you've got to get everything all together. Who is supposed to train? The Bible says, teach your child in the way that he should go. But if they're not being taught everything and they're expected to understand everything from basically the moment they come out of the womb, because no one's taking any accountability, right? Then explain that. But we'll all happily profit off of them when they're successful. When it's Britney Spears and she's successfully making so much money, we'll all happily profit off of her. If she's having a bad day, maybe she did have a bad day. Look out for her, protect her, help her. Be the wise elders you're supposed to be. Take accountability for her. Take responsibility for her. I respect the people out there, the parents who say, you know what? I failed. I should have done this. I should have done that. I promise you, those parents who say that, their children are always better off. And their children are always better off because those children are with parents who are taking accountability. No one's going to get everything perfect. But we have a responsibility as adults to understand that We make the decision to bring children into this world. The only immaculate birth that took place was Jesus. That was the only birth that happened without, and even still, God told Mary first, like, look, this is what's going to happen. This is what's coming. Right? And I reckon if Mary had said she wasn't interested, I reckon God wouldn't have even used Mary, because God respects free will. Because the reason why he respects our free will is because he's going to hold us accountable to said free will at the end of the day. So before we start, fighting for my body, my choice, blah, 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 how about let's take responsibility for the children? And it doesn't have to be your child. Let's as a whole. This is why I love talking about this stuff with you guys, because we need to finally get into I feel like we need to get into the ring for kids. We need to get into into battle for children. It's no wonder that people are and it's disgusting to me how people talk about Gen Z and millennials and all this stuff. How did they get there? Do you know who's criticizing those generations? The parents of those generations. So I'm just upset. Like I said, it might seem like I've gone off because it's only because of one thing. I mean, Drew's dad wasn't even around. He was too busy off being alcoholic. Apparently he bothered her as well. That he couldn't even have dealt with that to at least be around for her. It's very traumatizing, guys. And it's not like these things just happen. So let's just get real. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Of course, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of the other content I have on my channel. Other than that, God bless you all. Sorry if you feel like I was shouting at you. I wasn't shouting at you guys. I just get really passionate about this because I just feel like, what about the children? But God bless you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.